Peace be upon you, 7th graders. Today, we are going to revise verb tenses for two main reasons. The first one is that you will be asked in the exam to identify one grammatical error and then to correct it. And later, you will learn passive voice. So, we need to understand the tenses in the active before we learn the passive. So, today, lesson 6, revision of tenses. الدرس السادس مراجعة أزمنة. Now, I'll teach you in short because it's only a revision. So, I won't focus on details. So, first of all, we are going to revise simple present tense. So, first of all, what is the form? You all remember that the form of this tense is the verb in the first form. For example, sleep. So, I, you, we, they, are. Plural nouns, for example, the students, the boys sleep late on Saturdays. So, I sleep, you sleep, we sleep, they sleep. Now, in third person singular, namely he, she, it, or singular nouns, we need to add s to the first form of the verb. So, he plays, she plays, it plays. Now, how do you make a questions in this tense, namely the present simple? We need to use do and does. Pay attention. In order to make a question in present simple tense, we only need to use do or does at the beginning of the question. And here I am talking about general questions or basic questions or yes and no questions. So, do I, do you, do we, do they, do the boys, do the girls. Now, we ask using does in third person singular or singular nouns. For example, does he, does she, does it. And don't forget to use the first form of the verb or zero form. So here we drop s. Again, we drop s. So, do you drive? Do you drive? Do they drive? Does he drink? Does she drink? So we drop s when we use does. Now, what about the main uses of this? What about the main uses of these tense? First, repeated actions and usually with adverbs of frequency. So, every day, always, often, sometimes, never are adverbs of frequency and they are usually used in present simple tense. Though, pay attention, dear students, though we can use these adverbs of frequency in other tenses. For example, we can use always or often or sometimes in the past simple tense or in the present continuous to refer to annoyance or criticism. So I can, for example, say, I always played basketball. I always played basketball. So we can use the adverbs of frequency in the past simple tense. We can also use them in the present continuous or present progressive to refer to annoyance or criticism. For example, he's always coming late to school. He's always coming late to school. So here you are criticizing someone because he always comes late to school. But in general, try to use them in present simple tense. Examples. So here again, we are talking about repeated actions. Examples. My friend often draws. So don't forget to add s in third person singular or singular noun. My friend. We are talking about one friend. So my friend often. And here the adverbs of frequency are used before the verbs. So my friend often draws. Don't forget to use this s, to add this s. Now, my friend often draws nice posters. I never drink orange juice. Here, we are using the form of WH question in the present simple. So, we use do or does, and don't forget to use your question with a WH word. So, when do you usually go to the sea? When do you usually go to the sea? And here we need specific information. We can't answer with yes or no. This is the difference between general questions and WH questions. So, when do you usually go to the sea? Now, we can also use the present simple tense to talk about facts or things in general. So, the sun rises. The sun rises in the east. So, here, don't forget to add the s. for singular nouns. Cats drink milk. Now, when cat drinks, cats plural noun, we use the verb in the first form. So, cats drink milk. Now, here we use the adverbs of frequency and usually before the main verb. So, here I repeat the adverbs of frequency for you. Always is used 100% of the time. So almost, when you do something, you always do it. It is repeated 100%. So usually about 80% of the time. Often more than half of the time. Sometimes less than half of the time. Rarely about 20% of the time. Never at no time. So here we are talking about the proportion of the frequency. Now we have finished revising. So pay attention, dear students in grade 7. My beloved students, pay attention. Here I am not talking in details because it's only a revision for you. Now let's focus on or revise the past simple tense. Now, as you remember, we have just revised the present simple tense and we used the first form of the verb. The first form of the verb. So I mean the first column of the irregular verbs and the first form of the regular verbs. Now here we are using the second column, the second form of the irregular verbs, namely for example went, okay, spoke, and we only need to add ed for regular verbs. So now positive form, I worked. So here it is a regular verb. We only need to add ed when we use the past simple. Pay attention. We only need to add ed and use the second form of the verb. I worked. Now with an irregular verb, for example, I went. I went, the second form of the verb. Now he worked, she worked, it worked, you worked, we worked, they worked. Now pay attention. The negative form, we need the negative article plus the base form. Very important, no, dear students. Use the base form after did. So, I worked, I didn't work. He worked, he didn't work. So, we use the first form of the verb. We don't use the second form when we use negative forms. She worked, she didn't work. It worked, it didn't work. You worked, you didn't work. Now, in the question, we only need to use did at the beginning of the question if it is a general question or yes or no question. So we don't use WH word in this case. So did I work? Did he work? Did she work? Now if you are using a specific, if you want to ask about specific information, you can add WH word. So when did you work? What did you work? How did you work, for example? Now short answers, yes I did, yes he did, yes she did. No, I didn't. No, she didn't. No, he didn't. No, she didn't. Now, let's talk about the most important use of the simple past tense. The most important use of the simple past tense. We have several uses for this tense, but today I am only revising with you the most important uses. So here I can talk about one important use, which is completed actions in the past. Completed actions in the past. So, dear students, we use this tense to refer to actions happened at a specific time in the past, when the time is known. You remember, when we revised the present perfect, we talked about actions happened in the past, but the time was not important, the time was not known. We didn't talk about actions happened at specific time. Here, we need to know when the action happened or took place. So, examples, completed actions in the past. Example, I saw a movie yesterday. So here, we are talking about a definite time. I saw, the second form of the irregular verb. See, saw, seen. So, I saw, the second form of the irregular verb. I saw a movie yesterday. So here the time is known, the time of the action. Here is a negative form. I didn't see a play yesterday. Negative past simple. Negative past simple. We need didn't plus the base form of the verb, the zero form, the infinitive. So, I didn't see a play yesterday. So again, the time is known. Last year. So we can start with the adverbial time. Last year, I traveled to Japan. Last year, I didn't travel to Syria. What did you have last night? So here, WH word. So here we need specific information. We can't answer using yes or no. What did you have last night? She washed her car, the second form, and here it is a regular verb. We only need to add ed. So she washed her car. He didn't wash his car. Here we didn't add ed because it is a negative form. Now signal words of simple past: yesterday, a week, a month, a year ago, last month, last year, last week, last weekend, last Monday, last night, or a specific date in the past, for example, in 2010. Now let's revise the present continuous or progressive tense. What is the form of this tense? Here, first of all, let's learn the positive or the affirmative. So we need verb to be present, dear students, am, is, or are. So the present form of verb to be am, is, or are plus the present participle, and here I mean the verb plus ing. Again, we need am, is, or are plus present participle, not past participle. Here I mean the verb in the base form plus ing. So for example, in positive sentences we can say I'm working. So it is the contraction form of I am working or I'm working. Pay attention to these contractions, dear students, in grade 7. He's working, she's working, it's working. Now in the negative form, I'm not or I'm not working, he's not working, she's not working, it's not working. Now here it's very easy to make a question using a present progressive because we only need, dear students, to invert the helping verb, and here in this case it's the present be, namely am, is, are. So am I working? Is he working? Is she working? Now the short answer will be yes I am, no I am not. Yes he is, no he isn't. Yes we are, no we aren't. Now what about the main uses of the present continuous or progressive tense? First one of the first use is actions, activities happening at the moment of speaking. So we use the present progressive to talk about actions happening at the moment of speaking. So for example, I am teaching you the present continuous tense right now. I am teaching you the present continuous tense right now. Here another example, he's eating. So we need be present plus the verb plus ing. So I mean the present participle. So he's eating a dinner now, pay attention, now, at this moment. Maha is talking with her friends at the moment. Again, another example in the present continuous is the first form of the verb plus ing, and it is called or named the present participle. Now pay attention, at the moment, right now. Now look, so it's not necessary to use now or at the moment. I can tell you that, look. So look refer to an action happening at the moment. Look, listen, pay attention to these words or signal words used in present continuous tense. Look, they are swimming in the pool. Now used to temporary actions. So we can use the present progressive to refer to temporary actions. What does that mean or refer to? Activities continuing only for a limited period of time. So for example, this semester I'm writing a book. That means I am not writing it at the moment. It is a temporary action for this term or this semester. So let's read these examples for you. I'm riding a bike to get to school. I am riding a bike to get to work. I am riding. Again, it is a contraction form of I am. I'm riding a bike to get to work because my car is broken. Temporary action. Why? Because his car will soon be repaired. So he's only riding his bike for a limited period of time. Sorry. He's working at a restaurant. Hind is working at a restaurant. So temporary action. We know that Hind is a student at a college, but only this summer she is working. So it's a temporary action. She is working there only during the summer holidays. She is working at a restaurant. While if it is her job, we use the present simple. We say that she works at a restaurant. We know that it is her job and she always works there. She always works there. But here we are talking about a temporary action which happens only during summer holidays. Now another use, and it's very important to learn it, we use the present continuous to refer to the future. So dear students, you know, we use will, we use be going to refer to the future. And today I am teaching you very important note that present progressive or present continuous is used to refer to the future, but only for arrangements, future arrangements, pay attention. We use will, for example, to refer to the future when we talk about sudden decisions or about predictions. We use going to for plans. Here, the case is different. We use the present continuous to refer to future arrangements. For example, I am meeting Aman in the evening, so I called her. I told her that I am going to meet you in the evening. So this is an arrangement. Now, he's flying to Rome in May, so he has the ticket with him. So he's flying, or here it is in the contraction form. So the full form is he is flying. Here it is a contraction form. He's flying to Rome in May. Now, the past continuous or progressive tense. The same form of the present continuous, but only we need verb to be in the past form. So positive, was or were plus the present participle, namely verb plus ing. For example, I was playing, so don't forget to add ing, because we are talking about a progressive. So always when you talk about progressive or continuous tense, we need to add ing to the base form. But here pay attention, past continuous. So we need the past form of verb to be. I was playing, you were playing, he was playing, she was playing, it was playing, we were playing, you were playing, they were playing. Now in the negative form, or for the negative form, we only need to add not. So was not or wasn't, were not or weren't. And here in the question, we only invert verb to be in the past. So was or were are inverted. So was I playing? Were you playing? Was he playing? Was she playing? Now, what about the main two uses of these tense? Actions were in progress. So when we talk about the past continuous, we are talking about actions that were in progress, that were continuous, that were progressive in the past at a time. So we are talking here about a prolonged time in the past. So what were you doing at 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon? So here we are talking about a prolonged activity in the past. What were you doing at 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon? Prolonged activity for a period of time. For example, I was playing with my dog. Now, here we are asking using singular noun, hind. Okay, one person, dear student, hind. So we use was, not where. So what was Hind doing yesterday evening? Hind was watching a movie. So we are talking about an action happened in the past and that continued for a period in the past. Now, so we can talk about yesterday evening. Now, what were the children? Here is a plural noun, so we use were. What were the children doing? Don't forget to add ing. What were the children doing in the evening? The children were playing in the park. Now, very important use of the past continuous, interrupted actions in progress. And here we are using the past progressive and the past simple in one sentence. So the past continuous was in progress when the past simple happened. So we are talking about two actions. One happened before the other. Here the past continuous was happening when the past simple happened. So I was having past continuous. I was having a bath. So here we are talking about an action which was in progress when another action happened, and in this case it's the past simple. So I was having a bath when the telephone rang. So this is the action that happened after the past continuous and interrupted it. I was watching TV when she called. So past continuous and past simple. The past continuous was in progress when suddenly the past simple happened. When the phone rang, so we can use the past simple in the first part of the sentence. It doesn't matter. When the phone rang, she was writing a letter, or she was writing a letter when the phone rang. Now, while, pay attention to these signal words in this case, while, as, or when. They are very important when we are talking about actions in progress and past simple. So, while we were having, pay attention to the form of past continuous. While we were having the picnic, it started to rain. While Hala was sleeping last night, someone stole her car. So, all the verbs in green color are in the second form, namely the past simple. Now, while Hala was sleeping last night, someone stole her car. While I was writing the email, the computer suddenly went off. So, the forms in the red color are in the past continuous, while the forms in the green color are in the past simple. And here we are talking about an action which was in progress when another action suddenly happened. Now, present perfect tense, we've revised it earlier for you. And now I'll revise the past perfect. And here, the same form of the present perfect. We need verb to have, but in the past. Pay attention. The past perfect. The past perfect. So, the past perfect, we need had, not have or has. We need had plus the past participle or the third form of the verb. Example in positive, I had worked, he had worked, she had worked. Now, negative, I hadn't worked, she hadn't worked. Question, we only invert had. So if you are asking yes, no question, we only invert had. So, had I worked, had he worked, had she worked. Now, if you want to ask for specific information, you only add WH word in the beginning of this question. So, where had he worked, for example? Now, what is the main use? So, only I'll give you one of the main uses of these tense. A finished action before a second point in the past. Again, I simplify things for you. Again, dear students, again, 7th graders. Here we are talking about the most important use of the past perfect tense. Pay attention and try to understand. Here we can also use the past perfect with the past simple. But here, the past perfect wasn't in progress like in the case of present continuous. Here, the past perfect happened first and then the past simple happened. So we are not talking about an action that interrupted another action. So we are talking about two actions, only one happened before the other. The past perfect in this case happened first and the past simple happened next. So one action happened first and then after a short period or maybe a long period of time, the other action happened. So we don't have an interruption. So we usually use the past perfect to make it clear which action happened first, And here we can use signal words, for example, before and after to refer to this tense. So when we arrived, here is the second action. When we arrived, the film had already started. So first, the film had started. Then we arrived. So the action which happened first is used in the past perfect, while the second action is in the past simple. Examples, I did not have any money because I had lost my wallet. So first of all, I had lost. This is the past perfect. First of all, I had lost my wallet. Then I didn't have money. Maha knew Istanbul so well because she had visited the city several times. She only understood, here the past simple, the movie. Why she understood the movie? Because she had already read the book. Now, signal words used for the past perfect. I had finished or I'd. So pay attention. This is the contraction form of I had. And in some cases, it is for I would. So I'd finished. But would is followed by the base form. And here it is followed by the third form. So it's very easy to differentiate between the both forms. So I'd finished all the work by the time. Pay attention, very important word or phrase used in the past perfect. I'd finished all the work by the time you called. I'd finished all the time. I had finished all the work by the time you called. So when you called me, I had already finished all the work. So there is no interruption in this case. Now, when we arrived at the airport, so we arrived later at the airport while the flight had already left. So, first of all, the flight had already left. This is the first action, namely the past perfect. And then we arrived, so we didn't travel. Before we sold our car, we had owned it for 20 years. So here we are talking about the possession of the car for 20 years, and this was in the past perfect. And then after that, we sold this car. So before we sold our car, we had owned it for 20 years. Now another example, after she had moved out, I found her notes. So first of all, she had moved out, and then I found her notes. He would never meet a native English speaker until he visited London. So here we are talking about two actions. The first action is in the past perfect, and the second action in the past simple. Here all the forms of past perfect are in red color, while the past simple are in, namely the second form of the verb, are in green color. This is everything for today. Thank you for watching. Bye for now. See you later.